So I'd just like to share the story of this story, which is my book, A New California Dream. So I'm kind of, I'm a local, simple guy. I grew up in La Crescenta and studied math and philosophy in college, and just kind of started getting really curious about what was up with this crazy place where you have lots of zany, creative projects like this sort of thing, and people will come out for no other reason, just wanting to see what might be, and kind of just a why not attitude. And I don't know, I come from, my mom was a school teacher, my dad was a water district manager, I'm a public servant, I work with local governments, a lot of boring stuff, building schools and pipes and things like that. And basically the thought was, why not use that crazy, zany ideas to solve some of those problems? And there's been a lot of highs, been a lot of lows. I remember, when I was in DC after I graduated college, and I was working as a cheap little intern, and I was like working, 40, 50-hour weeks, coming home at night to write this thing night after night. It gets a little kind of wears on you because, like, where are you going? Where are you coming from? And I guess I don't even know how much time I have left, but just because I wanted to say this, that I really believe in people's projects. So if there's anything that I can do, I have committed to helping creative, crazy Californians like yourselves do cool things. So if there's anything I can do, I have cards that are, I would love to be in touch.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Hey, Patrick, since we decided after you went to do the Q&A, you didn't get a chance to, do you want to do that?
Yeah, if anyone has any questions. Can't do it from the back.
So how long did it take you to write the book?
In a sense, my whole life. In a sense, 3 months.
3 months for the actual sitting down and
55,000 words.
So what is the book about?
It's sort of the story of the idea of California. Of there's this idea. People talk about LA as like a paradise, or since the gold rush, it's like it's like this magic utopian kind of like culture things, and or people talk about the California dream. Kind of tracing why that idea, how it evolved, and how it's kind of been somewhat problematic at times. You see, like kind of like the internet, like the '90s gold rush. There's this idea that like all the old rules aren't there, but there's still very limits of like city budgets.
So who's reading this book? Who did you write it for?
Some of the people like the League of Women Voters, they seem to like it. So it's sort of those people. I would say anyone in California, but that's kind of like anyone but no one. So it's a good question. People who would read like Kevin Starr, or kind of care about the state, care about the future. So.
Is it a historical look at California as a statehood and before, or is it more of an esoteric or kind of an artistic view of the people who happen to live in the state?
So it's kind of it's sort of an essay, and kind of a cultural analysis, if you will, of the idea. Kind of asking what constitutes the California dream. What do some people say? What are the kind of some of the dominant threads or concepts there? I was kind of a philosophy major, so
cool.
Are you planning on another book, or will you write another book?
I have a lot of loose thoughts about how human inquiry, how like some of these basic problems, like Hume will talk about like the problem of causation, and a lot of very philosophical things about how information technology allows us to more strategies to deal with some of those problems. So way more abstract and less concrete. That stuff I love anyway.
I have a question. Are you a native Californian? And then, if you are or if you're not, would it be better if you were writing as a native guy, or would it be better to write it as someone who came from the outside?
Yeah, so my family goes back 5 generations. It came like right after the gold rush, right after, not during. Came after, from England. Smiths came into like up by Santa Barbara. And actually, it'd probably be honestly more California not to be from here, to come here to like, to be like one of those, people who came here during like the '90s and like just moved to SF just because it's like, oh, there's the gold rush. It's like the internet's going to change everything. That's probably more Cal in a certain sense. Any other questions?
So that's interesting. So maybe your audience is up in Palo Alto.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe you can like speak to them. I don't. Surely we're talking about your book in more abstract terms and not
Yeah.
specific.
Yeah.
But you know, if it's about the California dream and everything, I don't know. Like,
Yeah, that's because you see someone like, I mean, Arnold's kind of a crazy dude, but like when he would go abroad, like, I mean, he was kind of the California dream personified, even though in a very problematic way, I would argue. And he kind of like would go abroad and all these like, you know, these things and draw huge crowds, and it's kind of like, because I mean, it's kind of like, you know, there's like Hollywood or Silicon Valley. These aren't necessarily place-based. They're almost kind of like global or universal ideas. Just like, why not go pioneer something?
So on a practical level, how did you get published and how do you market it?
So I self-published the thing. I had this, it was like some like podunky, I think it was like Alcora, for me contracted. I was like, I don't know, it really sucks. Even if it's like a legit publishing house, it's like, unless you're getting like one of the top 5, not to get too into book publishing, but it's like, they don't really help you with distribution. It's like you have to sell it, but then you're gonna get less money. And it's like, I'm not trying to get tenure. I don't need check some box so I can like feel better. I mean, it's kind of like almost a vanity thing for a lot of, just to be able to say like, oh, I got, you know, someone said I was cool.
How are you marketing it?
Um,
Is it on Amazon, other places?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's a new California dream. I do some, honestly, things like this, you know, like League of Women Voters, they have like done a lot of events and stuff like that. A couple other things, honestly, not that well. It's kind of tough. That's like the first thing I was kind of winging it, trying to build a play and too fly.
So do you have sort of, have you developed a talk, like an accompanying talk to sort of summarize the dream for audiences like this? I mean, that like, if I wanted you to speak to an audience, would you?
Yeah, I've done that.
I mean, do you like to do that? Do you want to do that? Do you want to do
I would love to do that. That's
Okay.
the honest answer.
Right.
It's like, you
No,
know,
not everybody does. Some people write books because they don't want to talk in public. You know?
it's like, I wrote this because, you know, because I believe, I mean, I don't know, you look at the state's problem, and it's really frustrating for me, because it's like, this is a place where people do really cool things. And it's like, I don't know, it's like, I come available to public service, and that's what I do, and it's like, we're not doing a very good job. And that's frustrating for me. Because when my dad was a kid, he always would say, like, you know, if you always do your best, you know, not having any regrets, and we're like, you see what like people are capable of here. We're not really close to, I mean, like, so I get very ranty and I apologize, but it's like, you know, I work on the board of the Los Angeles Education Partnership. So we connect basically the community to highly underserved, like kind of standard story in LA. And it's just, I mean, when you hear people talk about the California, the American dream, this idea that like wherever you come from that you'll have a shot in life, it's not really true. And it's like, you go to all these places and it's really, I don't know, you just see these kids, it's like they just want to learn, and it kind of breaks your heart. Yeah. Any other questions?
so when did you know that you wanted to write the book and actually have something like?
It just needed to be written, to be honest with you.
That's awesome. That's a good reason.
I never thought, like, I wasn't like 12, I was like, oh, I want to write a book. I was like, just had an idea.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really awesome.
When you finished writing the book and it was pretty much done, how much did it take you to actually publish it on Amazon? Like, in terms of like, oh, I need to change a little thing or something else, or like, did you have those fights, or did you just, I'm done?
So the book was substantively done around September of 2010, and I published it in September of 2011.
Okay.
So, I mean, that was a year of like, trying to figure out what publishing avenue do I want to go down, like who would be interested in it, who would, you know, like how do I kind of polish it, you know, because there's just a lot of, editing is very difficult, you know, trying to make it readable and stuff. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my editor, Kelly Mendez.
Was there somebody that you took inspiration from for the book? Like a specific writer or figure or somebody?
Writer Kevin Starr. That guy is impressive. He wrote like a 7-volume history of. It's like, I mean, pick your favorite most. Like he's actually just a really impressive historian. Kind of like a Virgil or something, but he writes about California dream. Just trying to read all that stuff is hard. So like trying to write it, I think that's difficult. I kind of walk off.
One quick last one. Do you do this purely for the desire to get the story out there and told, or is it something that you're trying to commercialize? I mean, like, are you interested? Do you have aspirations?
I mean, so the book is, I mean, it's dedicated to my parents, and I donate most of like, the stuff to like the nonprofits and like some of the school stuff I do. So yeah.
Cool.